Hello everyone, and here's your news for October 5th. Secretary of State Marco Rubio on Meet the Press has said that ongoing negotiations between Hamas and Israel are not yet the end of the situation happening in Gaza. Rubio also said that they are trying to create a governing group for Gaza, which would take, quote, some time. This has come after Israel and Hamas have appeared to be moving closer to implementing a 20-point peace plan, which was originally proposed by Donald Trump. A moderator on Meet the Press, Kristen Welker, asked if the peace negotiations would mark the end of the war in Gaza, which Rubio said, quote, not yet. Further, Rubio said, quote, there's some work that remains to be done. Everyone has agreed, including Israel, that eventually at some point here, as this process plays out, Gaza will be governed by a Palestinian technocratic group that's not Hamas, that are not terrorists, with the help and the assistance and the guidance of international consortium like the Board of Peace. The peace plan includes that Gaza will, quote, be governed under the temporary transitional governance of a technocratic, apolitical Palestinian committee.
With Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Secretary Rubio, welcome back to us.
Thank you.
Well, I want to start with these peace negotiations in the Middle East. Is this now the end of the war in Gaza?
Well, not yet. There's some work remains to be done, and I would view it in two phases in terms of understanding how to break this out. The first piece of it, which was very clear from the letter and Hamas's response, is they have agreed to the president's hostage release framework. And what needs to happen now, and they acknowledge in the letter in their response, is there now needs to be meetings which are occurring even as I speak to you now, and hopefully will be finalized very quickly on the logistics of that. What that means is, who goes in to get them? Is it Red Cross? When do they show up, et cetera? What place are they going to be? And the conditions have to be created for that to happen. You can't have bombs going off and fighting going on in the middle of this exchange. So that's piece one. The second, and we want to see that happen as soon as possible. All 48 hostages, both living and deceased. And there's some need to be released. And there's some logistical challenges to that we'll have to work through. But that work is happening even as I speak to you this very moment. The second part of it, it's even harder, and that is the long-term piece. What happens after Israel pulls back to the yellow line and potentially beyond that as this thing develops? How do you create this Palestinian technocratic leadership that's not Hamas, that's not terrorists, and with the help of the international community? How do you disarm any sort of terrorist groups that are going to be building tunnels and conducting attacks against Israel? How do you get them to demobilize? All that work, that's going to be hard, but that's critical, because without that, you're not going to have lasting peace. You may get the hostages back, you may get a cessation of hostilities, but in the long term, it's going to happen all over again. So both are going on at the same time, but priority number one, the one that we think we can achieve something very quickly on, hopefully, is the release of all of the hostages in exchange for Israel moving back to that yellow line, which is basically where they stood at the middle part of last month.